Coming up on this episode of the MD and Chef Team Show.
Hello and welcome to the MD and Chef Team podcast. This is your culinary nutrition expert and brain health coach, Chef Michael, along with my beautiful wife, my hottie bride, Isabel, your Dr. Isabel.
I love it when you introduce me like that. Your hottie bride.
You are.
Yeah.
43 years of being together
and 37 plus to go, right?
Yeah. Many, many, many more.
Yes, I'm excited about that.
Yeah, excited about the future, and we'll talk about the future for everybody here today. Hopefully make a difference in their lives. So my dear, somebody new coming onto the show might ask a question. Well, what's this podcast all about? I mean, what are these guys all about? What would you have to say to that?
Well, the reason I would encourage you to stick and listen is because what we're going to be doing is looking through a window into your future, a window into the kind of life you can be having right now. I've been a doctor now since 1991. That's more than 30 plus years. And I've seen over 500,000 people face to face. And what I've come to understand from my personal experience and from the latest, most up-to-date research is that medicine is changing. We're not focusing on what's your diagnosis. We're focusing on why is this happening to you? Mm-hmm. And once we figure out why, then we can start figuring out how to reverse it and fix it so that, look, I'm not saying that you need to be fixed. I'm just saying, let's get well so you can live your best life. So that's what we're here for, is just to look at things differently right now.
And I know you have a great analogy on that you got from one of your mentors, Dr. Mark Hyman. He talks about, basically the upstream and the downstream. And, what's that great analogy that he's known to say?
Yeah, he says, it's kind of like mopping up the floor when the sink is overflowing instead of just turning off the faucet. Well, the faucet is upstream. Let's learn to turn off the faucet so we don't have a kitchen full of water.
Just let it keep coming and keep mopping. No.
And when we say a kitchen full of water, we're talking about the downstream, like, for instance, anxiety, depression, suicide,
heart attacks, strokes,
diabetes,
dementia, all those non-fun things that we don't want to get to.
That's right. And we can prevent by taking care of our upstream issues, which is it all starts with our number one muscle, our brain.
Yeah, the brain. Well, we've got a little bit of a different type of show today because, a lot of folks might be new, not knowing about us. So title of this podcast today is, what really happened? Because we get that question a lot of times where, people might catch little snippets about us, little snippets about some things we're doing. But we do get the question, Michael and Isabel, MD and Chef, what really happened along the way? So we want to kind of fill in some of those gaps today of what really happened. Would you like to start that off, my dear?
Yes.
With a little bit about your story?
Yes.
Or a lot about your story. However you feel.
And we're going to do your story. Okay?
Oh, I get to come in. Oh,
yeah. So people know both our story.
Okay. And then it's really a combined story.
Yeah.
All right. What do you got?
And we've done it all babe, we've done all of this together. Isn't that amazing?
43 years of a story.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
A lot of people divorce.
Oh, and it's just so easy, just la-di-da, butterflies and rainbows, cruising along. Dee-dee-dee-dee-dee. Ah.
Yeah. No.
Yeah. So go ahead, Mike.
All right. So I've read a lot of stories about people's lives, and they seem so distant when they're sharing it. And I'd wonder, come on, what really happened behind the scenes that helped them win? Because now I'm seeing them as a winner. And I wanted the granular stuff, the real, raw, messy human side of it, to learn how I could win through it. So I was trying to figure out how to put this together for you, so that I just want to let you know that I'm doing my best to offer that to you, to help you win and not deal with the pain that I went through. Hopefully prevent that. Michael always introduces me as Dr. Isabel, MD, and suicide survivor. And then we dive into our talks. And there's a lot to being a suicide survivor. When I was 5 years of age, I remember telling my mom that I wanted to be a doctor, just like my uncle, Tio Julito, Uncle Jules. He's from Cuba, so we call him Tio Julito. He was the kind of doctor who would come into the room and just light it up with his sunshiny face. He was a true sunflower, wouldn't you
Yeah.
agree?
Oh, yeah. Amazing man.
I
Beautiful
know.
man. Yeah, just one of those people. Even if you were having a yucky day and you got around Theolito, you just smiled.
Yeah. And
And
just made you feel better by
yeah,
smiling.
yeah, yeah.
And we know that smiles mean I accept you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
what a smile means when
Ah,
somebody smiles.
okay,
I
cool.
accept you and you're okay.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
So I don't know if he knew that,
No,
but
I didn't
anyway,
know that.
he was my inspiration. Yeah, I've been studying smiles, the power of
The smile
smiling.
study.
Yeah, the smile studier. And I'll do a talk on that, the research on smiles.
Okay.
So Diolito was my inspiration. And fast forward from 5 years of age to 1991, I graduated from medical school in Colorado, and I began my in-hospital training for 4 years. And there, you do your 36 hours on for a shift, and then you're awake, you get to sleep for maybe 2 to 3 hours during that 36 hours. But the whole 36 hours, you're in the hospital with a beeper, and the nurses and the doctors in the emergency department, doctors get to call you and say, hey, we've got somebody else for you to review. And it was a badge of honor not to sleep. I mean, for me, it was where my living hell began.
Mhm.
I never realized how much lack of sleep affected me. And I would go home after being awake for most of the 36 hours and then try to get back into my sleeping rhythm very unsuccessfully.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then 2 days later, back into my 36-hour shift in the hospital. And that was for 3 years, 3 to 4 years. That was 4 years. That was 4 years of that stuff. Insane. And the real me with anxiety and self-doubt would cry myself to sleep, and only to sleep a few hours before getting back up and going back into my hospital training. And I know you didn't realize what was going on because you were busy doing your work
Yeah. Yeah. At the time, I was an executive chef
in a huge
and different large
organization.
organizations doing, it was kind of our own personal joke where I do 70 to 75 hours a week or maybe even 80. And you'd say, well, I just did 116 hours or 110 hours.
Something like that.
Okay, I guess I didn't do that much this week. I guess I've been just kind of hanging out.
But we were two ships passing in the night,
Yeah,
weren't we?
yeah, as you can
For
imagine.
4 years,
At that
hon.
time, yeah,
Yeah, that was
yeah.
crazy. And so I ended up going to see the doctor, and they put me on vitamin P, also known as Prozac.
Mm.
Yeah.
Because you had a Prozac deficiency, right?
Right. I had a Prozac deficiency back then.
That's a joke, everyone.
Yeah, I did not have a Prozac deficiency, but the point is, it did help me with my insomnia, and it relieved a lot of the anxiety because when you don't sleep, you get anxious. So the medicine helped me sleep. So therefore, it helped me not be anxious. But I was an emotionless doctor, full of shame.
Mm-hmm.
And I just had this quiet secret. Like I could not share this with my class, with my colleagues, because I would have been an outcast and bullied. And I thought for sure, babe, that you would leave me because I was truly a hot basket mental case. But I kept it quiet that whole time. And back in my training as a medical doctor, there was no education about sleep hygiene, just drugs. During my hospital, actually after I graduated and I was a family practice doctor, during my second pregnancy, it was very stressful and my sleep was terrible also. And I remember crying at night just to exhaust myself and be able to fall asleep because I did not want to get back on the Prozac because I had weaned myself off and I got off of it. And I was afraid that the Prozac, if I took the Prozac, it was going to affect our our baby in
Right.
utero.
Yeah.
And I didn't want that. But we now know that the fetus can feel and does feel, experiences all of the emotions that the mother is experiencing in
Yeah.
the womb.
Yeah.
And that child was born a very anxious baby who had colic and slept terribly for this first year. Remember? Do
Yeah.
you remember?
Oh yeah. I
I,
was there.
I cannot forget that.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was
Difficult
terrible.
time. Yeah.
Really tough time. And then fast forward to 2013. Michael and I moved to New Zealand to raise our children here in New Zealand because I was really unhappy with medicine in America. You know, in America, you had to have health care to get health care, which is crazy. You had to have health insurance to get health care. And I wanted to be a doctor for everybody. And in 2013, I just came to the realization that I was a frustrated physician who wanted to help people prevent disease instead of managing it. And all I was doing the whole time before that point was just managing people's diseases,
Mhm.
which is nuts.
Yeah.
And a year later, Doctor on a Mission was not growing as fast as we wanted. I was menopausal, I was 53, and I was experiencing severe insomnia and
Severe.
anxiety,
Yeah.
severe. And I didn't even realize that it was a side effect of being menopausal, having problems
Right. Right.
sleeping.
Well, you'd even got to a point where you were afraid to go to bed to supposed sleep because you were worried that I might not sleep, meaning you were
Yeah,
worried that you wouldn't sleep. So you're like, I don't want to go to bed because I don't think I'll sleep.
right. I had sleep anxiety.
Sleep anxiety.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is pretty wild. I was like, oh my God. I mean, I didn't know. I
No, I kept
never,
it quiet from Johan. I was very ashamed
I mean,
that I was
yeah,
experiencing
but I
this.
mean, also even from myself, I was just like, I don't know anything about this. I didn't have experience of that at the time. The last 10 years, we've totally turned that around and become experts in that area. But at
Yeah.
that point, it was like, whoa, what's going on?
Hmm. And I would only sleep 2 hours every night for 17 straight nights. And the thoughts that I was having is, I am no good for my family. I'm a burden. I can't let them know that I want to kill myself. So I was very, very secretive because I'm telling you, if you don't sleep, you do become suicidal
Yeah. And psychotic,
and
basically
psychotic.
psychotic.
Yeah. And by the end of that 17 nights of only 2 or 3 hours of sleep, I did try to take my life twice in 3 days. And by the grace of God, that plan was stopped. And you took me to our pastor, and the pastors prayed over me. And then
We went to the hospital and saw the mental health folks,
the psychiatrist
psychiatrists, and
who who said, Isabel, you're going to be on Prozac and sleeping tablet for the rest of your life. And I was like, at that point, I had totally surrendered. Like, okay, I have my secret has been found out. I am not going to be able to kill myself. Now I'm staying alive and I got to figure this out. And nobody who's never been in that space will ever, ever, ever understand what it's like to be suicidal.
yeah, yeah.
Ever.
To be that sleep deprived and just to have those types of
Thoughts.
psychotic thoughts that it takes you to that point of an end.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
like you said, thank God you're here today.
Yeah. By the
And
grace of God, that plan was stopped.
I know, and I know part of that was I was there during that. And
Mhm.
first thing they did when you came in was they checked you for drugs because, I mean, you were like a caged wild animal just because of lack of sleep, not because you were on anything.
Mm.
It was just this lack of sleep had driven you to psychosis.
Yeah, my cortisol was up. I
Wow.
was I was like a wild person.
Yeah, yeah.
My
And
eyes were bugged out. They thought I was on on methamphetamine. They tested
Yeah.
me for
Yeah,
methamphetamine.
yeah, and of course
I
it
was
was all
like, no,
negative, and
I'm not on
they're like,
methamphetamine.
okay, gee, here, okay, we got to knock this lady out.
Yeah.
But and at the time, I mean, this is one of
And
the
we're laughing about it now
best we can.
because we can, but at the time it was
Yeah, 10
ugly.
years ago.
Yeah.
But also, just from a relational point of view, it was a crossroads for us because the psychiatrist looked at me and said, okay, Michael, you got a choice. We'll admit Isabel into the mental health section here of the hospital, or she can go home with you and you are responsible for her. And, I hesitated for, I don't know, maybe 5 seconds, maybe it was 10, maybe it was 15. I don't know. It was fairly quick. And you turned to me, my dear, and were like, don't let them take me. I know what happens in here. I was like, oh my God. I mean, you looked almost like a child was like, don't let them take me.
Yeah.
And I looked at you and I was like, well, no, there's no choice here. You're coming home with me. We're going to get through this together. We're going to work through this.
Right.
I'm not sure how it's going to happen. We're going to take it day by day, but there's something going on here. We can work on this together, and we've got to figure this out. And we can use this mess, because also we call this mess to mission.
Yeah.
We can use this mess as a mission to save a lot of other lives.
But we didn't know that at the time.
We didn't know it at the time,
Yeah.
but now we know that.
But it did reveal itself.
Yeah.
The whole purpose did reveal
Yes,
itself.
it did.
Yeah.
But you came home and, with me, and we're stronger and better ever since.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was pretty wild.
Pretty wild. And we've gone through that together. And during that, I do remember when the psychiatrist said, Isabel, you're going to be on Prozac and a sleeping tablet for the rest of your life. Deep down inside, I was like, we'll see about that. Yes, I took the medication, and yes, it put me to sleep, and I started to sleep very, very well. I think I was knocked out for 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's right. Whatever it was, I was like, okay.
Wow, that's
I gotta check and see if I can wake you up here.
The mental health nurse would come and visit me, remember, like every other day, and report back to the psychiatrist and said, you need to lighten up on the sleeping.
This lady's asleep. Yeah, she's caught up in her sleep now.
Yeah, she's
We
caught up
gotta
on
allow her to wake up again.
Yeah, so she can walk.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Now, during this whole journey, one of my mentors appeared in my life, Dr. Dale Bredesen, who's a medical doctor and neurologist who's been studying how to prevent and even reverse Alzheimer's, early Alzheimer's. And he's written this book called The End of Alzheimer's. And when I was reading this book, he said that the research shows that antidepressants increase your risk of dementia. Well, at the time, I was on an antidepressant, and I was like, what? I'm not going to be getting dementia of the Alzheimer's type. That's not going to be my life. So Michael and I really started to dive into the latest, most up-to-date research on brain health and how to support it. And I just want to say that now I am off the medication, and I'm saying this to you for you not to just come off your medication. I'm giving you hope and encouragement that, you know what, wherever you are right now, you can get through this and over to the other side and have victory. You're just in a messy middle, and you can get through. And so Michael and I learned about the latest issues about brain health and how to work upstream and turn off the faucet.
Right, turn off the faucet. So, and just learning some of those contributors about brain health and how to support it. Would you say gut health is one of them?
Yep, absolutely. Gut, as you hear out there in the world, your brain is your stomach, your gut is your second brain.
Yes.
That is true.
And how about, I mean, this is one I'd never heard of, what's called ACE, adverse childhood experiences.
I had no idea the effect of adverse childhood experiences on our brain health. I had no idea that if you score greater than 4, then you've got a 1,200% increase of suicide.
Yeah.
Who knew?
Wow.
I was never taught that in medical training.
Hey, here's another one for you. I imagine you didn't get much in this in your medical training. How about nutrition? Can that support our brain health?
Well, chef, what do you say?
Yeah, I'll just say 100%.
Yeah, 100%.
And
Absolutely.
exercise. I mean, we hear about exercise and physical health, but can exercise support our brain health?
I love what Dr. Perlmutter says. He says the number one supplement is a pair of walking shoes, to get your
Excellent.
exercise in.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And another biggie, and I know this is for you during your menopause, because it
Mm.
was your menopause years when this hit, hormones. Does that something have to do with supporting brain health?
I was never taught the importance of hormones in our brain health. And I never also knew that the highest rate of women who commit suicide are between the ages of 35 to 44. That's perimenopausal, the time around menopause. And then the next highest rate of suicide occurs to women between 45 and 54. That was me.
Hmm.
And it had to do with our hormones.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
and not only for women, but men. Men go through
Oh, yeah.
menopause too.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, low testosterone, but hormones such like vitamin D, thyroid, estrogen, progesterone, DHEA, cortisol, all those hormones,
Yeah.
they affect our brain.
Yes. And another one is relationships. Is that
Yeah.
something that's important for our brain health?
Yes, and learning how to implement boundaries to protect yourself.
Nice.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. That's
a lot of
important.
people don't
Yeah.
know that they need to have boundaries.
Yeah. And how about I find this one so important is productive thought management, the way we think in our brain.
Yeah, we have to control our thoughts or they will control us.
Yeah.
And that is a job in and of itself
Yeah.
while you're awake, pretty much.
Yes. Constant course correction.
Constant course correct. Babe, you and I have been working on having productive thought management at least for the last 25
Yeah. Oh,
years.
by the way, babe, that's me.
And look today, you and
Yeah.
I were walking and you're like, you're going off course.
Constant course correction.
Yeah.
And spirituality. Is that a way to support brain health too?
Yes. Uh, Depending on what people believe, I can only speak from what you and I believe. And at the time, I thought that it was in my strength that was going to grow Doctor on a Mission.
Yeah.
It was in my strength. It was all on my shoulders. But during this whole experience, I've learned that it's not on my strength, it's in God's strength.
Yeah.
With Jesus and the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
And, just being able to cast my cares unto God and knowing that He's there every step of the way really, really helps me.
Yeah.
It keeps me light.
Yeah.
It keeps me like Tigger. That's T-I-double-G-R
Yeah.
in Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah.
Like that's my normal attitude. That's my normal personality.
And what we discovered for everybody, it's just important to have something you believe in beyond yourself.
Right.
So it's not all on you.
Yeah. And my favorite prayer to God is, God, use me. You kept me alive.
Kept you alive. Use me in a great way.
Yeah, use me big. Use us big.
Now, here's one we've seen a lot with people in brain health is toxins and toxicity. Important? What do you think?
Oh, yeah. Yes, yes, yes.
Are you on 100%?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're so exposed to BPA, to pesticides, to glyphosate, to mold, to so many toxins that our body has to clean out. I forgot what the data showed, hon, but you had mentioned it in one of our podcasts that the umbilical cord has how many toxins in
when
it?
the baby's born, just on average, I think it's like 217 toxins or something like that. On average, when the child was born,
That's insane.
Going into the child just from mom. And that's just on average. And it's not mom's doing anything wrong. It's just what we're exposed to these days anymore.
Yeah.
So we have to be aware of that. And that's a whole other topic. And of course, there's a few other contributors. But these are all areas that we have to turn off the faucet or even find out, what's going on in our lives. These are contributors when we go upstream.
Yeah. And if I start making poor choices, I start heading downstream. So I get back on track because I never want to be in that place again. And I hope that this is going to help you so that you don't have to suffer unnecessarily like I did. Because this is not being taught in medical schools,
Yeah.
you know. This is just not being
It
taught.
may change. It may change.
Yep,
But
it will. It's going to
we're
take about 20 years.
yeah, we're in that time where it's an exciting time in the healthcare and medical field where there are changes are coming. How fast that'll be, we don't know, but yeah, there's changes coming.
Yeah. How about you, hon? Can you tell us about your story? Because I've said so
Yeah.
much about my story.
Well, I keep mine to, let's say, I guess you would call the title, What Jeans Are You Wearing? And with the jeans, it's not like putting Wrangler blue jeans on. I'm talking about jeans like Genes. What type of jeans are you wearing? So in the traditional medical sense, um, I've been trying as an adult, they try to put me into a box. And what I mean by that is because of both of my parents died young, I consider very young, from chronic disease at 53 and 69. That's
That's so
young.
young.
That's young.
Yes, that's young.
And because they died of chronic diseases, as we probably have all noticed, anytime you go somewhere, you have to fill out a form, whether it's healthcare, medical, insurances. There's always going to be something on there to tick the boxes and write it out, like, your family history, because they want to know, oh, what genes are you wearing? What genes do you have in your family history? That's going to put you in a box and say, oh, well, it looks like you're probably going to die young early too. That's what the box they were trying to put me into.
Mm-hmm.
Now, unfortunately, I was confirming that box because by the age of 50, after about 25 years of doing that 70 to 80-hour working, and having very poor habits, poor nutritional habits, no exercise, just working, overstressed. So many poor lifestyle factors that by the age of 50, I was heading toward an early death. I was heading toward either strokes, heart attacks. I was already pre-diabetic, stepping into diabetes, very overweight, obese. Um, and mentally, I was a mess myself. And it wasn't that I was suicidal, but did not have good thoughts. Didn't have good thoughts about myself, didn't have good thoughts about the world, was just, pretty much negative. And that wasn't my background, as I was always a good, positive person. But as the years went on, that just kind of eroded because of the stress and the lifestyle I was leading.
I would call you cynical.
I was cynical, yes.
Yeah, cynical
Cynical
would be
about life.
would be your
Yeah, yeah. And
personality.
probably
Yeah.
I started coming out into my face, and my attitude was cynicism. And like I said, at the age of 50, it was my awakening where fortunately after, I don't know if I was looking in the mirror, whatever, we can use that metaphor, looking in the mirror and seeing the look of my wife's face, my beautiful wife, looking at me going like, oh my gosh, what has happened to this guy? Who is this guy? And also for me, I had to understand, well, wait a second, I don't want to die young. I have this amazing, beautiful wife. I have these two amazing, beautiful daughters. I love them all so much. No, I don't want to go down that track. So I had to learn, okay, what's going on? And that analogy of mopping up the floor while it's flooding, I went on my own, I guess you would call it journey, but basically I went on my own process of turning off the tap, finding out what were the contributors to how the heck did I get to be that mess at 50? Because I wasn't that mess at 25, but by 50 I was. So it didn't happen overnight. Didn't happen in a year. It happened in a couple decades. And so in doing that, for me personally, I sought research, I sought mentors, I sought conferences, I sought audios, I sought books. I just went after everything to kind of to learn.
You were hungry.
I was hungry
You were
because I
hungry to
wanted to
learn.
live,
Yeah.
and I wanted to see our daughters grow up. I wanted to be with my beautiful wife, Isabel, who I'm sitting next to now, for many, many, many years. And I was like, no, no, I know what it's like to lose a parent at a young age because that happened to me. And I did not want that to happen to my two daughters. And I didn't want to see Isabel lose me at a young age because my mom died young. And I saw what happened to my dad. He became a very unhappy man when he lost his beautiful bride at a young age. And I didn't want that to happen. So I needed to change what was going on in my life. So what did I change? Well, like I said, was hungry, went after it all, invested my time and money into learning my craft of being a certified culinary nutrition expert, a brain health coach. And that was a process of probably around 10 years or so.
Yeah,
Maybe
because
longer.
all the while you were implementing this stuff.
Yeah, so probably 10 to 15.
Yeah.
And I guess one of the best things I can say, and this is not about me, but it's just to let everybody know, no matter where you are in life and no matter what age,
Mm-hmm.
you can change.
Mm-hmm.
You can change it in the good. You can change whether those genes of your family are being expressed in a bad way or you are turning them off. You said, no, they're just going to, yeah, they might be there, but they're not going to be turned on.
And I just want to interject here if I can, honey.
Yeah.
Like type 2 diabetes. You have that in your DNA, in your family, but you turned it off. Like you had it turned on, but you turned it off. You turned that expression off by the way you decided to choose to live.
Yeah.
And your lifestyle choices.
Yes. And so what happened in that process, just to give you an idea, is I slowed down. I actually reversed my aging. Now, that might sound crazy, but here's what I'm talking about. So, my chronological age at 50, meaning my calendar age, was 50. But my physiological age, my biological age, meaning my body, the way it was aging and all its body systems, I was probably in my mid 60s. So here I am 50, but I'm already aging as though I'm in my mid 60s. So I was speeding up the aging process of my body. Well, as you can imagine, that's not good. That's not good. But what I was able to do over the next 15 years, now at the time of this podcast, I'm 66, recently having done the biological aging testing that's all out there available, body composition stuff you can do. At 66, my biological age is 51.
Mm-hmm.
And it could be less if it's just the body comp we did only goes 15 years younger or 15 years older. So I'll go with 51. So at 50, I had the calendar age of 50, I had a biological age of mid 60s. But now when I'm in my mid 60s, 66 to be exact, my biological age, my body aging is at 51. So in a way, I reversed my aging by a cumulative of 30 years, which I did that by lifestyle factors. And that's not me being something special. It's just what we can do when we turn off the genes and understand what's going on and we have a why and a decision and we say, no, I am not going there. And that's what can happen. And I love that, to know that we can do that. And I will continue to slow down the aging process. And that's all about that. Over the next year, you will be chronologically a year older, but are you biologically maybe a month older, maybe 6 months older, or maybe 5 years older? that's what we can do by turning off the faucet of those contributors that are making us age faster. We can do that. And that's
And
exciting.
you can do that. You, the
We can all
listener,
do that.
you
Yeah,
can
when
do
I say
this.
we, that means all of us.
That means you out there.
Yes, it's the proverbial we, meaning all of us.
Yeah.
All of us as a society, anybody listening, and anybody
You just
you
need to
talk
make
to.
the decision
Yeah.
and get hungry
Yeah.
for where do you want to be.
Right. So that's what happened.
So that's what happened, and there's more to the story. Just hang around. We're training for 100
Yeah.
plus
Well, the story's being developed every
as
day.
we speak. Yeah.
Hey, thanks for hanging out with us here on the MD and Chef Team podcast. Hello, Chef Michael here. If you enjoyed today's episode, we would love it if you subscribed to the podcast and left us a review.